Christmas time has come, and there's only one thing Eve wants stuffed into her stocking: sperm. Let's just get this out of our systems now, because the second half of this winter's scary tale is packed full of the white creamy goodness. This is a story about the beauty of motherhood, and our brave and beautiful villain don't need no man to help her raise the ultimate being, but she does need that seed and will stop at nothing to get it. From a raid on a local sperm bank to an end battle on a naval ship with hunky sailors, we're gonna be swimming in semen. So join us as we catch up with Aya, getting into another sticky situation with Parasite Eve Part 2. Day 4, and Daniel is now the big man in charge, stepping in while Baker recovers. Thing is, he's a beat cop, has no idea what to do when stuck behind a desk, which means we've basically entered the part of the RPG where our hero is a bit more in charge of their own actions. Pretty normal for the genre, but I never noticed how fitting it was with this story. Aya has been assertive from day one, but early on she has many moments of self-doubt, and her gradual shift in confidence isn't just the thing you hope to see in a lead character like this, but it also hints at what is really going on behind the scenes with the story's true ending.
That's all well and good, but we've got pressing matters. Eve just attacked us in our own home, but fled the scene to cause trouble elsewhere. So we need to know what her real plans were, and fast. And none of the guys seem to have a clue. We check in on Maid up in the forensics lab. He's chatting it up with some hottie, and not to get too off topic, but my guy, Aya does not like you, and there's a cute nerd right there who wants to talk to you. Hit on her. Anyway, sperm. Maid is thinking that Eve is on a time limit with her current body, and the last time she tried conceiving a new being, it failed. So, Maid, the guy who most likely watches loli hentai and bukkake videos, determines that she is most likely to hit the largest sperm depository in the area in order to have the best chances at finding a suitable donor to work from. And so it's time to mosey on down to that there sperm bank, and partner, I'm a-fixin' to make a mighty big deposit.
Slow down there, cowgirl. No reason to go off in there half-cocked. Maid has yet another useless gift for us, and while you can run back and dump it off if you want, the setup of this stage gives you the perfect opportunity at the halfway point. So we head inside the lobby, seeing the lights are on, but the place is strangely silent. Regardless, we have a simple mission and a directory, heading up to floor lucky number 13 to get that yummy sperm, when suddenly, and also without warning, Eve cuts the wires, sending our car plummeting down that shaft in a way that defies modern Otis safety systems.
No one's gonna get their hands on that delicious sperm but me.
It's all good. Elevator might be out, but at least the lights are still on.
Dude, are you serious?
Well, the lights might be out, but we can still find the stairs.
Just shut up!
And so our big mission of Part 4 begins. Find the fuses, which is relatively easy. This is a very small area. And you will happen to run into Ghost Girl again, who I should have mentioned is actually Aya's twin sister, Maya, although it was mostly vague about that up until now. What's important to note is that both Aya's mother and sister died in a car accident when she was a child, the same way the doctor's wife dies in the book. And this hospital is where they were taken to, the same hospital Aya remembers in her flashbacks, and the same event she remembers Dr. Clamp from. Alright, we got all 3 fuses, and we are ready to get this party going again.
Wait, did she just really do that?
Yeah, I do not even know why that's in the game. It does no damage, there are no consequences, and you have to go out of your way to make it happen, which is hilarious to me. Like some weird troll Easter egg. Anyway, power back on, we can take the elevator all the way up to the lobby again.
Okay, another question. She wanted to trap us down here but left one elevator function despite being aware of the first one?
Plot convenience. They painted themselves into a corner. Speaking of convenient, if you have too many items, this is the perfect time to go back and drop them off. Now having access to the examination rooms on the first floor, we rescue the last of the patients and nurses. And when I was a kid, I thought this one looked kinda chubby and kinda old. But now that I'm an adult, I think that she's my favorite.
As long as you share, there's enough meat on her to feed a family of 4, and you would still have leftovers.
That's hot. Speaking of, Aya is burning up again, and she finally realized what we as the audience have known for a while, that this is the same hospital and room she keeps seeing in her visions. What exactly does that mean for the plot? You'll have to find out in the next episode of Dragon Ball Z, cause Aya's got a plan. We now have access to the hospital's supply of liquid nitrogen, the very thing needed to keep all of that sperm fresh and tart. And Aya, not about to let Eve take it all for herself, turns off the tanks, ruining the entire supply.
If I don't get to drink all of that sperm, nobody does.
Heading up top, we find that we are a bit late and Eve has raided the cum jars, grabbing several samples. Scattered on the floor, we also find more HLA listings. This time not only referring back to Ben and his mother, but Melissa and Aya as well. Most of this is just for the audience, to lay some hints for the ending, since the organ transplant subplot isn't really applicable to everyone mentioned.
Just gotta say, that fridge is killing me, man. I know they use them in real life for medical supplies, but I can't help but wonder if anyone's ever put their lunch in there right next to the sperm samples. Or has anyone ever just gone to grab some condiments without really looking and just, you know.
Okay, Guy, I think we've worn out the cum jokes. Navy sailors. They're here, doing what sailors do. You know. Flying jets.
I thought that was the Coast Guard.
Considering it's a JRPG, they probably think it's the Salvation Army. So now we find ourselves up top, fighting a random spider girl on the roof. And this is where it really pays off to invest in some range for your weapon, cause it is hard to get in close, especially with those sticky webs. Fire enough shots into the monster and the roof collapses, sending them falling. Problem solved, for now. And so Aya confronts Eve once more, demanding to know where she's hidden the sperm, cause her hands are empty and that dress ain't got no pockets.
You should search her cheeks, first the face and then the butt.
Oh, I wish Aya would give her a cavity search, but Eve's used her magical do-whatever-she-wants powers to turn those pilots into goo. And she somehow timed it in a way where the now out-of-control planes will home in on this specific rooftop, so we've got to jet, and this part is kind of bullshit. All you have to do is run to the opposite side of the roof. Pretty simple, but the game gives you zero clue on where you're really supposed to go, and you kind of would have to have just guessed back in the day. Plane crashes, you lose, reload your save, fight the boss again, hopefully do it right this time. It's pretty bad design. Not gonna skip that just because I love the game. But eventually Aya will find safety by jumping off the building and onto a conveniently placed scaffold.
Question number 5 billion. Why is that there? It implies that they were washing the windows, but how did they get down?
Same way we're about to, by releasing the brakes. Somehow that spider monster from before knew we were out here and also how the rig we're on works. But we ignore the details yet again to engage in one last anticlimactic battle with a baby spider as the car plummets. And it's funny every time, cause the hospital's only 13 floors, but at this speed we have dropped hundreds. Thankfully, we're able to apply the brakes last second, stopping so close to the ground that we're able to gently hop off before meeting back up with the guys.
Wait, they're going back to the station? What about the spider monster that's still hanging out inside the hospital?
Day 5, and we are off the leash, free to choose our destination from a long list of 2 locations. First on the list, the warehouse. Don't go here yet. It's just a bonus area with extra equipment you can't fully utilize yet, and monsters you don't really want to face. So we head to my favorite hangout, Chinatown.
Oh, fuck yeah, that's where I get all my imported softcore adult VCDs.
Softcore?
Yeah, man, I like the stories.
Thankfully, this game does not hold back on the money shots, and Maid finds a snail trail leading us back to the sewers. It is somewhat disappointing that Chinatown only consists of a short linear path, and it feels like this section of the game may be where things got cut for time crunch, as you'll see. Jumping down into the underground, we are treated with a fairly simple maze of identical rooms linked together on a grid like it was rushed last second. It does hide a few decent items, and the layout makes itself very easy to follow, so even if it is uninspired, the area is still worth a search, and the extra experience. Reaching the water treatment plant, we catch up with the biomass from Central Park, attempting to spread itself into the drinking water being pumped through the city. And after a quick mini-boss battle with some recycled gators, we quickly flip the pump on, ejecting the mass as we again give chase, exiting up into the subway system.
That was kinda fast.
Just wait. Once in the metro, we take on a random centipede boss before walking out onto the Brooklyn Bridge, witnessing the biomass swimming in the direction of the museum before pickpocketing a random key off of a dead cop and triggering the change disc option.
All of that nonsense aside, why in the hell would they have you change discs randomly right now? Why not at the chapter break?
Because in theory, this is where Day 5 was meant to end. Cut content is very normal for games. We are literally playing a game made from the cut content of Final Fantasy VII. And in this case, we have public documents to back up the claims that Day 5 got it the worst. Originally, this part was meant to be much more linear, with Eve using her barrier powers, seen earlier, to basically seal herself off in the museum. So our trip through Chinatown and the sewers was conceived as a backdoor way to sneak Maid through with us, most likely continuing down the metro line and exiting through that optional warehouse. The warehouse itself being essentially pointless now. It has some pretty decent equipment, but you'll find more useful items at the museum shortly, and at best it's just extras to store for your second run when making your ultimate weapon. So if you're only planning to play through the main story, you might as well not even waste your time exploring this place. Regardless, in either scenario, real or headcanon, we end up back at the museum searching for Eve once again. However, we are not alone, with Clamp attempting to lock us in a room with some raptors.
What? No. I was able to follow along with all of the other crap, the rats and insects and whatever turning into monsters, but why are there dinosaurs now?
Oh, this part is totally not done. Eve used the raw cells and living material to wrap around the plaster replica skeletons, puppeting them around like marionettes.
And the reason she made them roar is because...
Because dinosaurs are cool, stop asking stupid questions. Skanking our way around and up into the security room, we are able to cut the alarms, unlocking some of the doors, and we also get a glimpse of Eve on CCTV, hiding out on the top floor.
Yo, when did she get so fat?
Eve's prego. Remember how she drank all that sperm the other night?
Oh, so that's why she looks like she's 16 months pregnant about to give birth to an elephant. Okay.
Yes, all of this makes perfect sense. This is a very smart game. So then Eve brings the T-Rex to life and he starts wandering around.
What?
Yeah, this part gets just a bit too silly. It's still cool, but really now, how is a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex hiding from us indoors like he's Solid Snake? How would he fit through the doorways? How would he even open the doors with those tiny hands? Again, this really is one of my favorite games ever, but it would be a lie to pretend we have not gone completely off the fucking rails tone-wise at this point. So let's get serial for a moment. Maid's here hanging out in Clamp's office, for reasons, and he's brought us a special present, another gun, that is of no use for now and will mostly waste a slot in our inventory until later. More importantly, he's discovered that Clamp might actually be the bad guy, shocker, and has been working with Eve this entire time, trying to create the perfect, parasite-free sperm, one that is fuller, more flavorful, and will never leave one unsatisfied. 99% pure. This man is the Walter White of cum.
To end right on time, Just Hands is here to begin his act-free speech.
Surprise, it was all just a diversion so he could stab Aya.
Double surprise, bitch, Daniel punches him in the fucking face. Sometimes it do be like poetry.
And he's only got one question for his office daughter. Why in the hell did you not shoot him? We're cops. We're allowed to do that. It doesn't matter, because Clamp's ready to meet up with Genova in the Promised Land, telling Eve to firebomb the place as Daniel and Maid leap out the window, vanishing until the end of the chapter. With Clamp's key, we now have full access to the museum, and as long as nothing stupid happens, it's a straight shot to the final boss confrontation with Eve.
And right on time, something stupid happens.
After taking on a trike, he revenges you by tackling Aya off the second floor balcony, down into a display area from before, and perfect timing, the T-Rex shows up topside ready to go.
Oh, I guess he just took the elevator up there, okay.
This guy's kinda big. Also, our scientifically accurate T-Rex can breathe fire. Just squint, you can pretend it's Bahamut Zero. That flame does some serious damage though, so you want to do your best to stay to his side or the rear to avoid it.
Just keep poking him in the butt. This is kind of like the first Dark Souls, really, if you think about it.
You're probably thinking of Vagrant Story, and I am not masochistic enough to want to play through that one again right now. Heading upstairs, we confront Eve in her child daycare / luring center.
I don't see no kids.
There's one right there, in her belly. And as someone who makes a living drawing gross fetish art, this is someone's fetish, but I'm grateful they shared it with me as a child. It really nourished my artistic development. And it is also time to stop the development of this fetus by quickly and painfully aborting it. That did not sound right.
Dude, just don't, dude. Let me handle this part. It's a sensitive subject. Aya whips out her gun, pointing it at the pregnant lady's stomach, Minnesota style, ready to commit a gross miscarriage of justice.
And Eve, being a drama queen, decides now is the time to split, summoning the blob monster from Central Park to go full kaiju mode, allowing her to escape. Making her getaway, we pursue, exiting out the front, meeting up with Daniel and Maid once again, who were able to piece together a bit more information and are ready to exposit the full backstory to us, mostly. Back in 1977, when Aya got into that car accident with her sister and mother, they all ended up at the hospital together, with Maya and Mariko both passing. And since they were both on the donor list, Maya's kidney ended up being transplanted into Melissa, meaning that Eve had originally been passed down to Maya from her mother. Now, this is where we have some problems. Mariko shares the same name as the girl from the book who Eve got pregnant that first time. So the idea that she later passed down another version of Eve to her daughter makes sense in context. So far so good. However, the incident from the book takes place in 1995, and the accident again was in 77, making it impossible for them to be the same person. The excuse there being that it's just the same name as an Easter egg, and in this version, Eve magically evolved on her own, separate from the events in Japan and somehow occurring around the same time. Because I have a very simple theory on this. Occam's razor points me in the direction of, they just didn't think about it all that much. One more time. This game mostly comes from a rejected Final Fantasy VII script, so I don't think anyone even checked in the first place. They didn't care if it fit canon. It's an anime OVA to them.
Speaking of canons, with this monstrous mitochondria meandering around the market district, we're gonna need some pretty big ones. And so the Navy shows up to personally escort Aya over to their fleet of warships so they can get her geared up for the big showdown.
So we're in the Navy now, I guess, and they've got orders straight from the president himself, which going by the year would be Clinton, who is thematically perfect for a game about sperm, being that one of his greatest contributions to society landed on an intern's dress. And since Independence Day was still fresh at the time, he decides to nuke the bastards, with Aya being the one who gets to pull the trigger.
NYPD, I'ma blow you up.
Their tactics? Pure genius. Using the human shield play, the helicopters will autopilot in a specific pattern that will draw Eve to attack them in an order that keeps Aya safe long enough to get in position, at the expense of the other pilots' lives, of course. But here's the thing. They're using autopilot, so why the need to send anyone in the helicopters as a self-sacrifice in the first place? And if they're controlling Aya's helicopter remotely, why does she even need to be there to fire the missile? Hell, why can't they just control the missile itself?
Aya's aim is true, and that kaiju whatever explodes into big old meaty chunks, giving Lady Liberty a messy load to the face that she ain't seen since 1952, which is when Ellis Island officially closed down after its last deportation on November 12th of that year. We're an educational channel. The cum jokes are just the frosting on that cake.
Let's not eat our celebration cake too early. Eve is very much still alive and very much pissed at Aya over that whole shooting her with a missile thing. And so our hero, with zero prior training, leaps from the helicopter, parachuting down onto the star fort, which is usually used for coastal defense, the Statue of Liberty's base being a larger 11-pointed star, or hendecagram. See? Educational. Also titties. Eve's got 'em out, so I love this part. However, this is where I have to take the nostalgia blinders off. As far as a final fated duel is concerned, this is a bit of a letdown mechanically. There is no strategy to this fight other than keep your distance. It's almost a pure numbers game. And despite her being a 2-target enemy in round 1, we currently have the shotgun spread effect on our weapon, meaning we do full damage to both sections every time we attack, draining her life in Form A incredibly fast. And outside of Form B being kinda hot, it's also just as weak.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely hot, but there's no effort in that design. She's just naked.
It even kinda comes across as a color alt to how Aya looks when doing her ultimate Omni-Slash-like magic spell. But I try not to use that in game since it's basically a one-hit insta-win move on every enemy, even all of the bosses on the bonus hard mode. And even when combining several self-imposed rules to make the game harder, as you can see, it just really isn't that hard. However, we are victorious, and that's what really matters. Eve's body, no longer able to hold its form, now begins to quickly degrade as she melts into a puddle of raw material before us, going out with a smile, as if she hasn't really lost. Day 6.
Wait, there's still more? Dude, I want to go to sleep.
I know it's late, and Aya themselves can't wait to get back home to get some rest. Everyone is here to give us their endgame goodbyes, including Wayne, who wants to celebrate our successful abortion by etching some gamer words into the side of our gun. This is actually how you make sure your best weapon and armor roll over into the bonus game. However, every non-key item Wayne is storing will also roll over, so if there is anything in your inventory that you want him to hold on to, give it to him now. With that out of the way, we go back out on deck and get in some chit-chat with our boy Daniel as we head off towards the credits. Except, surprise surprise, the abortion didn't take, and Eve's baby boy is wide awake and thirsting for some titty milk. And since Aya is the only woman in sight, after blowing up several large naval vessels, he makes a beeline straight for them juicy yum-yums. Don't you worry about all those dead sailors, and the billions lost in military equipment. We can just send more people's children off to die. Plus, if the government really needs the money, they know where to get it.
And that's why I only accept being paid in cash.
This guy can be a bit tougher than his mama, putting you through a 4-match gauntlet as he grows up right before our eyes. However, similar to the battle with Eve, it's really about the numbers. And as long as you are equipped well enough to tank 2 or 3 hits, you can outlast him. This one is more about survival. Focus on keeping your HP up and you'll eventually whittle his health pool away. We soon get him to transform into his true 4th Frieza form, and it is too much for our blonde anime hero, as Aya is unable to get any damage in regardless of how much you cheat the stats. Seeing that Aya is in trouble, Maid frantically and helplessly rambles at Daniel, wishing he had been able to give her his special weapon he created for this situation, a magical bullet, and we're not talking about the kind used on JFK. These 22s are infused with Aya's mitochondria, somehow, and Daniel, knowing that they are out of options at this point, grabs the magazine from Maid before leaping from the helicopter, bursting into flames on his way down, throwing Aya the ammunition as his body slams into the water at speeds that would crush human organs. Now possessing the power of the Metroid, Samus's plasma cannon is able to break through the Mother Brain's defenses, allowing her to strike down the space pirate. However, our enemy refuses to give up, but Aya has a plan, allowing the monster to follow us deep into the bowels of the ship, and upon reaching the engine room, we set the switches to blow up mode, which is apparently a thing you can do, before making our daring escape as the planet explodes, taking the ultimate being along with it. Safely back on shore, the gang regroups, and Daniel is looking great for a man who was recently set on fire. Now that Eve and the ultimate being are long behind us, Maid can drop that last bit of exposition to wrap up the loose ends. You see, during that car accident that ended with Maya and Mariko losing their lives, Aya was also injured, and since she had a random defect in her right eye, and the hospital now had some fresh parts lying around that they didn't want to waste, Maya's cornea was transplanted into Aya, which is how she got Maya's mitochondria, even though they both would have inherited Eve from their mother. And this is also why Aya kept remembering Maya's surgery, even though she was also there, and Maya was already dead and therefore could not observe it. Regardless, the day is saved, and Aya can now relax knowing she will never have to deal with this nightmare ever again, until they make a sequel. A year has passed, and to celebrate the anniversary of their friends and loved ones dying horrifically, our gang meets back up where it all started, dressed in the same clothing. And if this were real life, none of them would really feel comfortable with this, especially Ben. His fucking mom died. But they pile into the theater, ready to finally catch the conclusion to Loveless that had been so rudely interrupted only a year prior. The soloist takes center stage, as her co-stars stand by armed, just in case. But this time around, it is Aya who leads, silently standing in the auditorium as the crowd's eyes illuminate one by one, with the new Eve slowly taking control over them. The singer continues her solo as the lights fade out and the mitochondria wins. And that was Parasite Eve. An incredibly silly horror RPG that I love deeply, regardless of all the flaws we poked at. Part of aging is looking more realistically at things that shaped you and their flaws, while still being able to appreciate the accomplishments and challenges overcome by the teams that made them. Parasite Eve is far from perfect, and the sequels are a case of diminishing returns that never fully captured the magic of the first game. And that's okay. So many of these games are products of their times that only worked because of the limitations and stresses that creators were under, and to try and reproduce those nostalgic memories is fruitless, especially when these golden age games came from breaking the norms of their time and doing anything but relying on past accomplishments. And that is to say, I'm glad I got to come back and give this game one last run. But life is too short to do the same things on repeat forever, so it really was amazing getting to share this game one final time before moving forward, and having a chance to remember why I fell in love with the series in the first place.
And don't y'all worry, we are very aware of that super secret EX ending. I ain't letting the guy off the hook that easy. In fact, we are already getting some footage. So if you want to see that Chrysler building run, do the tube thing and put the words in the commento box. We really wanted to get this video out sooner, had some other fun plans, but holidays were just a bit much. Still trying to recover, but we are going to blast into 2026 hard as ever with plans to put our money where our mouth is and maybe make a shitty indie game of our own that you guys can make fun of. As always, I want to thank all the watchers out there. Thank you to everyone getting them adopts and keeping us alive, and I want to wish you all a fashionably late Happy New Year.